The Drift Nebula wasn't the crucible where galactic empires rose or fell. It was a haven for wayward spacers seeking solace in the haze of overpriced synthetic liquor drinks that carried the bitter sting of regret and the tang of engine coolant. That's precisely why Rin Carter had chosen it. Another round of that Andromedan whiskey he called to the bartender, a four-armed vexen, who could whip up cocktails and break up brawls with equal finesse. The bar's motto, "What happens in zero-G stays in zero-G," glowed in 12 alien scripts across the curved walls, though the bloodstains and scorch marks hinted that not all patrons respected the code. Ryan cradled his drink, watching ice crystals shimmer and vanish in the amber liquid. 3 weeks on Zephyria, and the water negotiations were a quagmire. The Aquavion Syndicate had the desert planet in a chokehold, and everyone felt the squeeze. Every dawn, Rin watched the price of water spike, while refugee camps overflowed with climate exiles from the outer settlements. Every dusk, he sent another futile report to Earth's diplomatic corps. Still screwed. Send help or a damn miracle. The bar's atmosphere shifted like a storm breaking. Conversations faltered as a cadre of Gir naval officers glided in their feline features, taut with barely restrained fury. Proud, honor-bound, and seething, they zeroed in on a table of corporate security goons sporting Aquavian badges. "You dare show your face here after what your syndicate's done," the lead officer hissed, spotted fur bristling as he jabbed a claw at them. "We're off duty, Cat," one guard sneered, taking a defiant swig from his bottle. "File your gripes with customer service." Rin sighed, sensing trouble brewing. Zero-G bar fights were messy, lethal, and not his problem. He turned back to his whiskey, vowing to stay out of it for once. That's when he saw her floating near a corner booth, or what passed for a corner in the spherical bar. She was unmistakably Shire, with pointed ears and delicate facial markings, but something was off. Her luxurious garments were rumpled, her normally pristine mane a chaotic tangle, and she giggled as her drink drifted just out of reach. "Come back, you rebellious little beverage," she slurred, flailing with swimming motions that sent her spinning lazily backward. The tension between the officers and guards was reaching a boiling point. Bottles were clutched like makeshift weapons, and the bartender's hands hovered over the emergency gravity controls. Nothing ended a zero-G brawl faster than a sudden 200-pound plummet. The Aquavion Syndicates violated 16 treaties, the SEER officer snarled. "Children die of thirst while you hoard water for profit." Supply and demand whiskers, a guard shot back. "Maybe if your Empress wasn't too drunk to rule." The first punch flew and chaos erupted. Bodies spun through the air, furniture spiraled, and profanity in a dozen languages filled the void. Rin pushed toward the exit, determined to escape, but a stray elbow slammed into his ribs, sending him tumbling. He collided with something soft that yelped in surprise, the drunken shearwoman, still chasing her wayward drink. "Oh, splendid," she mumbled. Golden eyes unfocused as they met his. "Here to arrest me, I'll have you know I'm perfectly capable of arresting myself, arresting, whatever." A chair whizzed past, narrowly missing them. The brawl was spreading a violent maelstrom, pulling in every patron. A shock baton crackled its electric hum, adding a deadly edge to the chaos. "We've got to move," Rin said, grabbing her arm. She was dead weight, or rather dead weightlessness, offering no help, as he navigated the three-dimensional battlefield. Years in space had honed his instincts, though most of that time was spent in conference rooms, not barroom brawls. He ducked a flying bottle, pushed off an unconscious patron, and dodged a cloud of spilled beer. "You're so swooshy." The woman slurred her head, lolling against his shoulder. "Is everything this swooshy for humans?" "Only on weekends," Ryan grunted, reaching the exit tube. He shoved them both through just as the bartenders slammed the gravity controls. Thuds and curses echoed as bodies hit the floor. The transit corridor outside was a sanctuary of normalcy, standard gravity, no flying furniture. Rin set the woman down, but she began sliding down the wall. "Whoa, hold on." He caught her before she hit the deck. "Where are you staying? I'll get you a transport." She laughed, a sound like tinkling bells laced with liquor. "Staying, that's rich. I'm staying right here on this delightfully horizontal floor." Rin checked his chrono, 10 minutes until the last shuttle to his hotel district. He could make it if he bolted. But his mother's voice rang in his head. "Rin Carter, you never could leave well enough alone. Come on." He sighed, hauling her upright. "There's a transit pod station nearby. We'll sober you up and figure out where you belong. I belong among the stars, she said, waxing philosophical before hiccuping. But they kicked me out, said I was too responsible, irresponsible, one of those. The transit pod was mercifully empty. Ryan eased her into a seat and sat across from her, already drafting a complaint about the bar. Diplomatic immunity only stretched so far. His wristcom buzzed incessantly, messages, alerts, news feeds demanding attention. He frowned, pulling up the display. Headlines screamed, "Human Diplomat saves sure royalty in bar brawl, romance among the stars, mysterious hero, rescues drunk, princess." His blood ran cold. He turned to the woman now curled cat-like in her seat, one shoe missing, her elaborate hairstyle a bird's nest. "Please," he said slowly, "tell me your name isn't Laura." She cracked one golden eye. "Technically, it's Her Imperial Majesty Laura Talvrin, Defender of the 17 Moons, Keeper of the Solar Winds, Empress of the Zur Protectorate and surrounding tributaries." She paused, grinning. "But Laura's fine. We're friends now. Bar fight friends, battle buddies, brawl pals." Rin's wristcom wouldn't stop pinging. The latest notification made his stomach lurch. A video with 2 million views, security footage of him pulling the Empress of a galactic power from a drunken melee. The way he'd shielded her, guided her through the chaos. It looked heroic, protective, romantic. Comments speculated wildly. Who's this mystery human? Secret lover, political alliance somewhere. Ryan knew diplomatic careers were crashing and burning. "Oh no," he whispered. "Oh yes," Laura said, suddenly more lucid. She sat up, frowning with effort. "You saved me, my hero, the man who did that thing with the tray. Very impressive. Mother always said I should marry someone impressive." "We're not getting married," Rin said firmly. She looked genuinely crestfallen. "But you rescued me. That's how it works in stories. Hero saves princess, wedding bells, someone turns into a newt. But that's just a subplot." His wristcom chimed a priority message from Ambassador Heron, his supervisor. The subject line, "What the hell did you do?" said it all. The pod announced their arrival at Central Station. Rin helped Laura to her feet, his mind a whirlwind. He had to get her to the palace file, a report due damage control. This was a catastrophe of cosmic proportions, the kind that ended with a one-way ticket to an asteroid mining colony. They stepped into the station's bustling concourse, and Rin's heart sank. Reporters, humans share, and a dozen other species swarmed them. Cameras flashing, questions flying. "Lord Carter, are you the Empress's secret fiancé?" "Your Majesty, how long have you been with the human diplomat? Will this impact the water negotiations? Did you meet in an underground fight ring?" "We're not," Ryan began, but Laura cut him off, draping herself over his arm with startling grace for someone who'd been incoherent minutes ago. "He's magnificent, isn't he?" she purred. "So brave, so noble, so human." The crowd erupted. Rin tried to clarify to salvage the situation, but Laura's grip tightened a warning, or maybe just balance. "One last question," a Terran reporter shouted. "What does this mean for human-Zire relations?" Laura's smile was predatory, a reminder that, drunk or not, she ruled 17 worlds. "It means," she said, voice like velvet, over steel, "things are about to get very interesting." Imperial guards parted the crowd, their armor gleaming, weapons unsubtle. The captain, a scarred veteran who looked like he'd rather wrestle a sundragon, bowed stiffly. "Your Majesty, Lord Carter, the palace awaits." Lord Carter. Ryan opened his mouth to protest, but Laura's claws pressed lightly into his arm. Warning or wobble, he couldn't tell. He stayed silent as they were ushered to a hover limo. The moment the doors sealed, Laura released him, slumping into a seat with a sigh. That was thrilling, also terrible. Terribly thrilling. Her golden eyes met his, and for a fleeting moment, Rin glimpsed something sharp, calculating beneath the drunken haze. "Thank you for the rescue, even if you've just made our lives impossibly complicated." "How complicated?" Rin asked, dreading the answer. She laughed, a tinkling sound edged with hysteria. "Oh, my dear accidental fiancé, by dawn, half the galaxy will think we're in love. The water cartels will weaponize this to discredit me. Military hardliners will demand your head. And my mother," she shuddered. "Mother's probably already planning the wedding." "Can't you just tell the truth?" Rin asked. "The truth?" Laura pulled out a compact mirror, grimacing at her disheveled reflection. That the Empress of the Zur Protectorate got blackout drunk in a dive bar and needed a human diplomat to save her while he was just trying to enjoy his whiskey. Which story sounds better for imperial stability? She had a point. Rin sank into his seat, watching the obsidian spires of Zephyria's floating capital blur past. The crystalline towers defied gravity and reason, their beauty lost on him. His career was over, his life tangled in a galactic scandal, all because he couldn't mind his own damn business. Rin's career was done for a supernova imploding into a footnote in galactic history, the fool who sparked an interstellar scandal because he couldn't leave well enough alone. For what it's worth, Laura, Talvern said softly, her voice cutting through his spiraling thoughts. You were magnificent back there. That move with the serving tray. Pure artistry. I haven't seen agility like that outside my royal guard. Zero-G handball in college, Rin admitted, a sheepish grin breaking through his gloom. Of course you did, she said, her smile genuine, lighting up her golden eyes. Look, Lord Carter, just Rin, he interrupted. I'm no lord. You are now. Welcome to sudden nobility. She waved a dismissive paw, her claws catching the limo's dim light. We're both neck-deep in this mess, Rin. That footage is galactic gossip now. Someone's probably already writing fan fiction about us. Fan fiction? Ryan raised an eyebrow. Trust me, you don't want to know. The galactic internet's Rule 34 is merciless. She straightened, and even through the lingering haze of liquor, the Empress shone in her posture, regal, unyielding. We've got two paths. We can deny it all, look like fools, and hand our enemies a loaded blaster. Or we play along just for now. A diplomatic romance, a win for both our peoples. You help me navigate this water crisis without seeming weak. I keep you from counting methane crystals on some frozen moon. Win-win. That's insane, Rin said, shaking his head. That's politics, Laura countered, leaning closer, her eyes still glassy but sharper now. Think about it. The Aquavion Syndicate is bleeding Zephyria dry. Your Earth government craves influence in this sector. What better symbol than a star-crossed love story? His Riscom buzzed 17 missed calls from the embassy. His career wasn't just over. It was a smoldering wreck. How long, he asked, voice low. Until the crisis eases, a few weeks, maybe a month. We part amicably, cultural differences, you know. You return to Earth a hero who almost married an empress. I get room to tackle the water shortage without looking like I'm bowing to human pressure. It was madness. It was career suicide. It was infuriatingly their best shot. My government will never sign off on this, Rin said. They already have. Laura held up her own Riscom, displaying a message from the Terran embassy. Ambassador Heron sends regards and says, don't screw this up worse than you already have. That sounds like Heron, Rin muttered. The hover limo descended toward the palace, a sprawling marvel carved from a single colossal gem, its facets gleaming under Zephyria's starlight. Landing lights guided them to a private platform where guards stood rigid, flanked by what seemed like half the imperial court. One last thing, Laura said as the limo touched down. My great-aunt will test your worthiness with a ritual combat challenge. Compliment her tale, she's vain about it. What Ryan blinked, but the doors hissed open, and Ryan Carter, water rights negotiator turned accidental. Romantic hero stepped into his new role as the supposed fiancé of the most powerful woman in 3-star systems. The crowd of nobles parted, their whispers trailing like comet tails. Short for a human. Decent bone structure, though. Have they made it yet? Ryan ignored the gossip, his jaw tight. The throne room was a spectacle of controlled chaos. Advisors huddled in fervent debate, their voices sharp as plasma blades. Military officers stood at attention, faces unreadable, while at the chamber's heart on a throne, sculpted from a single massive pearl, sat the Queen Mother. Older than Laura, her silver-white fur gleamed with age, but her eyes were laser-sharp, pinning Ryan with a gaze that made him want to confess to crimes he hadn't dreamed of. So she said, her voice slicing through the vast hall, You are the human who has captured my daughter's heart. He's wonderful, Mother. Laura interjected, draping herself over Rin's arm with theatrical flair. So brave, so noble, so human. You said that already, dear, the Queen Mother replied dryly. Also, you're drunk, only a little, Laura quipped. 40% drunk, 60% tactical genius. The Queen Mother's whiskers twitched, amusement or irritation, Rin couldn't tell. Lord Carter, she continued the title landing like a sentence. The videos show you acted with honor to protect my daughter. For that, you have the Zir Protectorate's gratitude. I was just. However, she cut him off, voice smooth as a gravity well. If this is some human ploy to sway the throne, know that we have 17 execution methods. I'm particularly fond of the one involving gravity wells and compression suits. Mother Laura protested, just making conversation dear. The Queen Mother rose with fluid grace, her presence commanding. Lord Carter, you'll have quarters in the palace. Tomorrow, when my daughter is sober and you've pondered your life choices, we'll discuss this properly. She glided past, pausing to add, the press conference is at noon. Try to look in love. Our last fake romance collapsed when the Duke forgot his partner's favorite tentacle. Most embarrassing. Rin watched her depart, then turned to Laura. She knows. Mother knows everything, Laura said, yawning to reveal impressive fangs. Probably knew about this before we did. Come, fake fiancé, let's get you to your quarters before I pass out in a fountain again. As they navigated the palace's labyrinthine halls, Rin's wristcom buzzed with a priority message from Trixa, his AI assistant. Rin, you magnificent disaster, it read, her cheeky tone bleeding through the text. I've run 16,000 simulations of how this could go wrong. Want them listed alphabetically or by war starting probability? Despite the chaos, Rin cracked a smile. Some things never changed. The guest quarters were absurd sprawling, with a bedroom larger than his Earth apartment, a bed fit for a small army, and a bathroom boasting a zero-G spa. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Zephyria's capital, its lights dancing off atmospheric processors that kept the desert planet breathable. Home sweet temporary home, Laura declared, steadier now, but still swaying slightly. Staff will bring your things from the hotel. Try not to break anything. Some of this furniture predates your civilization. Laura Rin said cautiously, why were you really in that bar? She paused at the door, not turning. Would you believe I just wanted one night where I wasn't the Empress? One night to drink terrible booze and make bad choices like a normal person. Yes, he said simply. She turned, surprise flickering across her feline features. Really? 12 years in diplomatic service, he shrugged. I've seen what the bomb does to people. The weight of it. Sometimes you just need to be nobody in a nowhere bar. And instead, I became somebody in tomorrow's headlines, she said, her laugh tinged with bitterness. Thank you, Ryan Carter, for the rescue and for not prying too much. Rest up. Tomorrow we convince the galaxy we're in love, save my planet from thirst, and try not to spark a war. Just another Tuesday in the diplomatic corps, Rin quipped. Her laugh was warm, genuine. I think I'm gonna not to like having you around, and fake fiancé. Good night. After she left, Rin stood at the window gazing at the city below. Beyond the glittering towers in the slums, people rationed water by the drop. Children went to bed parched. The Aquavion Syndicate grew richer by the hour. He'd come to Zephyria to negotiate water rights, not to become a galactic headline. His wristcom showed 247 unread messages, but he ignored them. Tomorrow promised press conferences, political theater, and the surreal task of feigning love for an Empress he'd just met. Tonight, he raised an imaginary glass to the stars. To bad decisions in nowhere bars, he murmured, and wherever they lead. A transport ship arced across the desert sky, its drives painting trails of light. Rin watched it vanish, wondering if he'd ever see Earth again, and surprised to find he didn't care much. How many could say they'd accidentally gotten engaged to an Empress while stone sober? His wristcom chimed. Trixa again. For the record, the odds of this ending with you married dead or ruling a small moon are 23.7% each. I've started your wedding playlist and obituary for efficiency. Ryan laughed a real laugh, the first since stepping into that bar. Tomorrow he'd be Lord Carter, fake fiancé to the Empress, a symbol of human Zire unity. Tonight he was just Renan, a man who tried to mind his own business and failed spectacularly. Settling into the ludicrously oversized bed, one thought nagged at him. Laura had sobered up fast once the cameras were gone, her theatrics too polished, her grip too deliberate. No, he said to the empty room. That's absurd. But doubt took root. What if the drunken act, the bar fight, the rescue, what if none of it was an accident? He drifted to sleep, the question lingering as Zephyria spun through the thirsty night awaiting salvation. Morning arrived too soon, announced by a cacophony like a symphony mauled by industrial drills. Rin jolted awake, disoriented by the ceiling's intricate stellar map, its precious metals glinting in the dawn. "Good morning, Lord Carter," Trixa chirped through his wristcom. "It's 6:00 a.m. local time, a balmy 47 degrees, and you've got 6 hours to convince the galaxy you're smitten with someone you met 12 hours ago." "No pressure." "What's that noise?" Rin groaned, rolling out of bed. "The traditional sheer morning welcome for honored guests," Trixa replied. "Meant to evoke the birth of stars. Locals call it harmony of the spheres. Everyone else says, please make it stop." He nearly tripped over a serving drone which beeped apologetically and presented a breakfast tray. Purple eggs, meat that twitched unsettlingly, and a drink that seemed to steam and freeze at once. "Purple eggs are safe," Trixa advised. "The meat's alive but non-sentient. The drink, an acquired taste most humans never acquire." A knock interrupted his wary inspection. Before he could respond, the door opened, revealing a young shearwoman in servant's livery. "Lord Carter." "I'm Vera, your personal attendant," she said. "Her Majesty requests your presence for morning preparations. Also, she sent this." She handed him a data pad with a single message. "Try not to look too human." "Oh, what does that mean?" Ren asked. Vera's whiskers twitched, possibly amused. "Her Majesty says humans tend to," how did she phrase it, "stand like confused bipedal trees in complex social settings." "Charming," Ron muttered. "If it helps, my lord, she also said you have surprisingly acceptable bone structure for a primate." "Doesn't help, but thanks." 30 minutes later, having choked down the purple eggs and avoided the wriggling meat, Rin found himself in a war room masquerading as a spa. Laura sat at its heart, 3 attendants styling her mane while she sparred with a holographic council of advisors. "No Counselor Myrax," she said, without looking up as Rin entered. "We're not using this relationship as leverage in the water talks. That's tacky. It's a distraction, while we find real leverage, subtle difference." A hologram grumbled. "Subtlety separates us from humans." Laura shot back. "No offense, darling," as she noticed Rin the endearment sounding like a borrowed cloak. The holographic advisors turned their gazes ranging from curious to hostile. Lord Carter Chancellor Varick, an elderly sir with whiskers like silver antennae, spoke up. "I trust you grasp the delicacy of our situation." "The water crisis," Rin ventured. A symptom, Varick cut in. "The disease is the Aquavion Syndicate's stranglehold on our infrastructure, desalination distribution, even orbital ice mining. Every drop on Zephyria passes through their greedy hands. And their prices climb with every breath we take," another advisor added. Laura silenced them with a wave. "Enough. Strategy comes after the press conference. For now, we focus on making this relationship believable." The holograms flickered out, leaving Rin alone with Laura Talverin and her styling team in the opulent chamber. In the morning light, Laura was transformed, her fur groomed to a silken sheen, her mane woven into an intricate cascade that surely carried centuries of sure cultural weight. Her gown shimmered colors, dancing like oil slicks on water, radiating regal authority. "You scrub up nicely," she said, her golden eyes appraising him with a critical glint. "Vera ensure he wears the blue ensemble. It'll make his eyes pop. Humans eat that up." "I am human," Rin pointed out a wry edge to his voice. "Yes, but you're not the audience," Laura replied, gesturing toward the window where media drones buzzed like mechanical carrion birds. "Every major network across 3 systems is out there. We need to give them a spectacle." Rin hesitated. "Shouldn't we have a backstory? How we met? How long we've been together? Favorite colors?" "Something marred." Laura's smile flashed a hint of fang-sharp and playful. "Oh, I've got that covered. Trixa, darling, upload the relationship dossier to Rin's wristcom." "Done, Your Majesty." Trixa chirped, her tone far too gleeful. "Rin, you'll be thrilled to know you've been secretly courting the Empress for 3 months. You met at a diplomatic gala where you wowed her with your mastery of ancient Zhur poetry." "I don't know any Zhur poetry," Ryan said, alarmed. "You do now," Trixa countered. "I've loaded 17 collections into your neural implant. You're particularly fond of Sector the Mournful." "I don't have a neural implant." "Well, that's awkward." "Wing it, then." Laura's laugh was bright, unforced. "Don't look so panicked, Ryan. We won't quiz you on verse. Just follow my lead, look smitten, and don't accidentally declare war on anyone." "That happened one time," Rin protested, then caught her knowing smirk. Wait, how do you know about the Proxima incident? I'm an Empress, darling, she said, rising as her attendants scattered. I know everything. Now let's face the press. You're madly in love with me. The water crisis is tragic but fixable. And under no circumstances mention the conspiracy theories about Aquavion using bioweapons. The what now? But Laura was already gliding out, leaving Rin to scramble after her. The press conference unfolded in the Crystal Archive Grove, a bioengineered marvel, where each shimmering plant stored the seer's ancient history and living data. The symbolism wasn't lost on Rin. They were crafting history amid history itself. Hundreds of reporters packed the grove, their cameras and microphones forming a technological jungle. As Rin and Laura entered, hand in hand, her grip was iron strong, perhaps to keep him from bolting. The roar of questions was deafening. Your Majesty, Lord Carter, when's the wedding? How does Earth view this union? Lord Carter, did you really fight 17 guards to save the Empress? That last one made Rin blink. The tale was growing taller by the minute. Laura raised a hand and silence fell like a curtain. Thank you for coming, she began, her voice steady as a starship's hull. There's been much speculation about last night's events at the Drift Nebula. I'm here to set the record straight and share something personal. She paused, and Rin felt the press corps lean forward, hanging on her words. Lord Carter and I have been seeing each other quietly away from prying eyes. Last night was simply a matter of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Or perhaps she turned to him, her smile warm as a sunrise, the right place, as it reminded me of the courage and honor of the man I've come to love. The questions erupted again, but Laura deftly pointed to specific reporters. Your Majesty, a Terran journalist called critics say this relationship is a political ploy to bolster human-zero relations during the water crisis. Your response, Laura's tone sharpened, a blade cloaked in velvet. I'd say those critics have never known love. The heart doesn't care about trade deals or resource quotas. It knows what it wants. Lord Carter, a four-eyed Altarian reporter, fixed him with a piercing stare. What first drew you to Her Majesty? Laura's grip tightened, a nudge or a warning. Rin took a breath, surprised at how easily the words came. Have you ever met someone who upends everything you thought you knew? The Empress is brilliant, compassionate, devoted to her people in a way that humbles me, he added with a small smile. She's also got a wicked sense of humor, even if it means testing diplomats with ceremonial challenges. Laughter rippled through the crowd, and Laura's grip eased a silent approval. But a Jair reporter cut through the warmth, her tone icy. Speaking of the water crisis, how do you explain the timing of this announcement, just as public faith in the palace's handling of the shortage wanes? The air shifted the question, a laser aimed at the heart of the matter. Laura's expression remained serene, but Rin felt her tense beside him. The timing is unfortunate, she admitted, but I won't hide my happiness because of public struggles. If anything, having Rin at my side strengthens me to face these challenges. His expertise in resource negotiations, his ties to Earth's diplomatic corps, these are assets. But they're not why I'm with him. Then why? The reporter pressed. Laura turned to Rin, and for a fleeting moment, her golden eyes held something raw, unguarded. Because he's the first in years to see me as Laura, not just the Empress. The silence was electric, the hum of camera drones seeming to pause. Then from the back, a single clap broke the stillness, swelling into applause that filled the grove. Rin's cynical side noted how perfectly it played, but a quieter part wondered if she'd meant it. The press conference blurred into a barrage of questions, wedding plans, undecided diplomatic ramifications, complex in whether human sire offspring were biologically possible. Mercifully, they moved on quickly. At last, Laura ended it, citing water council meetings. As they retreated into the palace, she released his hand with a long exhale. Well, that could have gone worse. The offspring question was awkward. Please, Rin said, your great-grandmother allegedly romanced a sentient gas cloud. Hybrid kids are barely a scandal by royal standards. She laughed, pausing at a quarter junction. The Water Council meeting's real, by the way, and you're coming. Consider it on-the-job training for playing royal consort. They moved deeper into the palace, the ornate halls giving way to stark functional spaces. Besides, she added, I want to see if your negotiator reputation is earned or just human hype. My record speaks for itself, Rin said, a touch defensive. Your record says you once stopped a mining collective's nuclear war by turning it into a cooking contest. It worked, didn't it? Not criticizing, she grinned. I'm impressed. Anyone who can weaponize a souffle has skills I need. The Water Council chamber was a brutal contrast to the grove's elegance. Harsh lighting, a massive holographic display mapping Zephyria's water infrastructure in grim detail. Red zones screamed critical shortages, far too many for comfort. Around the table sat stakeholders, municipal leaders, agricultural coordinators, industrial reps, and 3 Aquavion syndicate delegates, their presence heavy as a neutron star. "Ah," said the lead rep, a human woman whose smile never touched her eyes, the happy couple. "How delightful. I'm Director Saren Chen Aquavion. A pleasure to meet the man who's stolen our Empress's heart." The word stolen dripped with venom enough to fell a small creature. "The pleasure's mine," Rin replied smoothly, noting how the council watched like spectators at a gladiatorial match. "Shall we get to business?" Laura took her seat at the table's head, her voice cutting through the tension. "Aquavion's new pricing structure is unacceptable. A 30% hike in basic water rates will spark riots, supply and demand." "Your Majesty," Chen replied coolly, "the outer settlement's drought has cut ice mining yields. Our costs have risen. Your profit margins have risen." Councillor Myrax corrected, his elderly whiskers twitching. 47% per your own disclosures. "We have shareholders," Chen said. "And we have citizens dying of thirst," Laura snapped, her voice cold enough to freeze a planet. The meeting spiraled into chaos. Charts were wielded like blasters, statistics fired like missiles, and Aquavion's reps remained smugly unshaken. They held the monopoly and everyone knew it. After 2 hours of fruitless debate, Rin noticed something. He activated Trix's scanning mode, a barely legal mod he'd installed years ago, and watched the data stream. "Interesting," he murmured. Laura glanced at him. "Lord Carter got something to share." "Maybe." He stood, moving to the holographic display. "Director Chen, you claim reduced ice mining yields, but orbital traffic data shows a 12% increase in ice haulers docking at Zephyria's stations this quarter." Chen's smile flickered. "Those figures aren't public." "Orbital trajectories are," Rin said. "Basic math does the rest." He manipulated the display, highlighting the discrepancy. "So either your haulers are carrying less ice per trip, which would be economically idiotic, or they're lying about the shortage." Myrax finished, his whiskers quivering with intrigue. "That's a serious accusation," Chen said, her voice icy. "It's not an accusation," Rin replied. "It's math. Care to share the actual tonnage data to clear this up?" "That's proprietary," Chen snapped. "How convenient," Rin said. The room exploded into arguments. Chen stood gesturing furiously. Aquavion reps made frantic calls. Council members shouted over each other. Laura watched with a faint smile, catching Rin's eye and mouthing, "Well done." It was a small victory. Aquavion stonewalled, refused data, and stormed out threatening lawsuits. But the seed of doubt was sown. The council buzzed with talk of audits and alternative suppliers. As the meeting ended, Laura pulled Rin aside. "That was sharp. How'd you get those numbers?" "A magician never reveals his secrets." "Magician, I thought you were a diplomat." "In my experience, they're often the same." She laughed, and Rin was struck again by how her genuine warmth pierced her imperial mask. Their talk was cut short by Vyra, who appeared with uncanny timing. "Your Majesty, Lord Carter, there's an incident at the Radiant Waste settlement. Elder Savra requests immediate aid." Laura's face hardened. "What kind of incident?" "Water poisoning, Your Majesty. 17 ill, 2 critical." "Prepare my transport," Laura ordered. "Mobilize medical teams." "I'm coming," Rin said. "It could be dangerous. The desert settlements don't exactly welcome outsiders." "I'm not an outsider anymore, am I?" He gestured to his attire, now bearing subtle royal insignia. "Fake fiancé or not, I'm not sitting in the palace while people suffer." Something flickered in Laura's eyes, surprise approval. She nodded. "Fine, but stay close. The desert has its own rules, and breaking them is often fatal." An hour later, they were airborne in the Imperial transport, Zephyria's gleaming spires fading into the wild, stark beauty of the Radiant Wastes. The sands glowed with bioluminescent microbes, a surreal sea of stars beneath them. "Tell me about Elder Savra," Rin said, watching the desert flow below. "She's the matriarch of the oldest settlement," Laura replied, her voice heavy. "Her people predate the water wars, the corporate takeover. They know desert survival secrets we've lost in the cities." Her expression darkened. "If someone targeted them, it wasn't random." "You think it was deliberate? 17 people sick from one water source. That's not contamination." That's an attack. The settlement emerged on the horizon, structures rising from the sand like ancient bones. As they descended, Rin saw crowds around a central medical facility, emergency vehicles flashing in the eerie glow. Elder Savra stood ancient even by sheer standards, her bone-white fur a stark contrast to the glowing sands, yet she moved with a grace that defied time. Her eyes sharp as laser scalpels pinned Rin Carter with an intensity that made his spine stiffen. So she said without preamble, the human who would marry our Empress. "Tell me, boy, do you know what water means to desert people, life?" Rhine answered simply, holding her gaze. "Humph, not as foolish as you look." She turned to Laura Talverin, her voice grave. "Your Majesty, the situation is grimmer than reported. The poisoning is spreading to other wells." They were ushered into the medical facility, a scene of controlled chaos. Patients sprawled on cots, medics darting with scanners, and in a corner, a young woman clutched two children, their lips tinged blue with the telltale mark of water toxin exposure. "The symptoms match nothing in our database," the lead medic reported, frustration etched in his feline features. "It's not bacterial, not chemical, at least not any chemical we know." Rin activated Trixa, his AI assistant, her scanning mode humming softly. Trixa cross-referenced these symptoms with industrial compounds, focusing on desalination processes. "Working," she replied, her usual sass subdued. "Oh, that's not good." "Rin, the symptoms align with compound X74, a catalyst used in high-efficiency desalination. But here's the kicker, it's supposed to be fully filtered out before distribution." "Unless someone wanted it there," Rin said grimly, his voice low. Laura, who'd been speaking quietly with Savra, turned sharply at his words. "What did you find?" He explained Trix's analysis, watching as comprehension and fury ignited in her golden eyes. "Aquavion uses X74 in their newest facilities," she said slowly, her voice ablade. "The ones they claim are more efficient." "Efficient at processing," maybe, Rin said. "But if filtration fails or is sabotaged—" "Your Majesty," Savra interrupted, her tone heavy. "There's more. 3 days ago, Aquavion representatives came to our settlement. They offered to buy our ancestral water rights claims, older than their monopoly. We refused." The pieces clicked into a chilling picture Rin didn't like. "They're making an example," Laura said, her voice deadly soft. "Refuse to sell and suffer the consequences." "We can't prove it," Rin warned. "Not yet." Laura turned to the medical team. "Can the poisoning be treated?" "Yes, Your Majesty," the medic replied. "But we need specific chelation agents. The nearest supplies in the capital." Already en route, Vera announced, appearing with her uncanny knack for perfect timing. 3 medical transports, ETA 40 minutes. Rin's attention snagged on a child's thin, desperate sobs from the corner. Without thinking, he knelt beside them. The mother tensed, pulling her children closer, but Savra murmured something in rapid sheer, and she relaxed slightly. "Hey there," Ryan said softly to the crying toddler, her golden eyes wide with fear. "I know it's scary, but help's coming. The Empress herself is here to make sure you get better." "Hurts," the child whispered, voice trembling. "I know," Rin said, his heart twisting. "But you're brave. Desert children are the bravest in all of Zephyria, right?" A tiny nod. "Can you be brave a little longer?" Another nod, and the tones faded to sniffles. The mother stared at him, awe softening her features. "You have young ones of your own." "No," Ryan said, standing suddenly self-conscious. "I don't." Laura watched him as they stepped outside, her expression unreadable. "You're good with children," she observed, the desert wind tugging at her tactical gear. "6 younger siblings," Rin said with a shrug. "You learn fast, or they eat you alive. 6. She sounded genuinely shocked. "Humans are prolific breeders," says the species that has litters. "Twins at most, and rarely," she countered, shaking her head. 6 siblings. Your mother must be a saint. She always said she was raising her own diplomatic corps cheaper than university." Laura's laugh was bright but fleeting, her gaze turning somber as it swept the settlement. "This can't go on. The poisonings, the price gouging, Aquavion's stranglehold. My people are suffering while corporations profit off their thirst." "So what's our move?" Rin asked. She looked at him, a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. "You don't have to dive into this, Rin. Our arrangement's fake." "Those kids in there aren't fake," he said firmly. "Their pain's real, and if I can help—" He shrugged. "What's the point of being a fake royal consort if I can't do some good?" "Most would use it to embezzle," she teased. I'm terrible at math, liar, she shot back. I saw your orbital calculations. After a quiet moment, she said, there's a gathering tonight, desert elders planning our response to the poisoning. They've agreed to let us both attend. You've made an impression. Savra called you acceptably sensible for a hairless ape. High praise, Rin said dryly. Incredibly high, Laura agreed, her wristcom chiming. She frowned at the message. Medical transports are ahead of schedule. Good. We'll get everyone treated. Then tonight we plan our counterstrike. What kind? Her smile was pure predator, a warning to corporations that the desert's memory was long and its claws longer. As the sun dipped, painting the radiant wastes in fiery hues, Rin stood at the settlement's edge, watching medics work. The poisoned were stabilizing, the immediate crisis easing. But the larger battle, the one that brought him to Zephyria, loomed larger than ever. Trixa, he sub-vocalized, dig into Aquavion's operations, financials, safety violations, executive comms, everything. Ooh, corporate espionage. Trixa's voice was gleeful, exciting and legally dubious. Be discreet, Rin warned. Discreet's my middle name. Well, actually, it's trouble, but discreet was a close second. Laura appeared beside him, her formal gown swapped for practical tactical gear that still carried a regal air. Ready for your first dessert elder gathering, she asked. Any advice? Don't speak unless invited. Don't refuse offered food no matter how weird it looks. And never mention the great sandworm incident of 2387. The what now? Exactly, don't mention it. She started toward a waiting ground vehicle. Oh, and Rin, thank you for earlier with the child. Not many would have bothered. It was nothing, he said. No, she replied softly, it wasn't. They drove into the deepening desert toward a gathering that could forge new alliances or shatter old ones. Rin reflected on how his simple water negotiation mission had spiraled into something else entirely fake, engaged to an Empress, probing corporate conspiracies, now headed to a clandestine elder meeting. Hey, Trixa, he murmured. Yes, O Lord of increasingly poor life choices. Add desert politics to my resume, right between accidental royal and corporate nemesis. Your resume's getting weird, Ryan. In the vehicle's dim light, Laura's profile was set with fierce determination to save her people. Ryan found he didn't mind the weirdness, he was starting to embrace it. The transport rolled through glowing sands, carrying them toward a confrontation that could shape the fate of millions. Yet in the back of his mind, Rin couldn't shake the thought, had Laura's drunken stumble in that bar been as accidental as it seemed, the desert elder gathering took place in a structure that defied architecture, half buried in the luminescent sands pulsing as if alive. Biomimetic construction, Laura explained as they approached. It's almost sentient filters, air regulates temperature and listens. To sand vibrations approaching storms underground, water flows even the emotions of those inside. The elders say it knows truth from lies. Comforting Ron muttered, suddenly hyper-aware of every half-truth he'd uttered in the last 48 hours. Inside, 12 elders sat in a perfect circle on cushions that seemed extensions of the living floor. Savra gestured them to empty spots, and Rin tried to ignore the gentle pulse beneath him like a giant heartbeat. We gather in the old way, Savra intoned, her voice resonating with the desert's weight beneath stars and sand. Empress Laura brings the human Ryan Carter, who speaks for distant Earth and shares her heart. Ryan caught the slight emphasis on shares her heart, wondering if Savra suspected their ruse. But she pressed on. Today's poisoning is not isolated. 3 settlements report similar attacks, always after refusing Aquavion's offers to buy ancestral water rights. She held up a data crystal, its etched script flowing like water. The pattern is clear. They seek to break us through fear. A younger elder, scarred from harsh years, leaned forward. Elder Savra, knowing their strategy is one thing. Defeating it is another. They control the infrastructure, hold a legal monopoly. What can we do but endure? We expose them, Ryan said, then caught himself. Apologies, I shouldn't have spoken. Savra waved it off. You're here as Laura's voice and heart. Speak freely. What exposure do you propose? Rinoy activated Trix's discrete projection, casting a hologram in the circle's center. For 6 hours, my AI's been sifting Aquavion's data trails. We found something. The hologram displayed shipping manifests, financial records, chemical orders. They're buying triple the X-74 catalyst needed for their reported production. Either they're wildly inefficient, Laura finished her eyes sharp, or they're producing more water than they admit stockpiling, creating artificial scarcity. Driving up prices while hoarding reserves, an elder growled. It's worse, Trix's voice cut in, startling the elders. If I may continue, thank you. Satellite imagery shows hidden storage tanks in the deep desert. Conservative estimate, 500 million liters unreported. The silence was deafening. In a world where water was rationed by the milliliter, the number was obscene. Can we prove it? Laura asked quietly. Satellite images are public if you know where to look, Rin said. The chemical purchases are hidden but legal. It's circumstantial but damning. Circumstantial won't stop them, the scarred elder said. They own lawyers, media, politicians. Then we fight in our arena, Laura declared. Savra's smile was predatory, ageless. You propose the old ways. Laura Talvern stood, and Rin Carter noticed the living walls pulsing in sync with her movements, as if the desert itself resonated with her resolve. A series of public forums across all settlements, she declared, her voice steady as a pulsar. Not protest educational sessions. We teach people to read their water bills, understand the chemistry, ask the right questions. They'll spin it as rabble-rousing. Ren warned, his tone cautious. Let them. Laura shot back, her golden eyes glinting. Every overreaction exposes their cracks. She turned to the elders. But this only works if the desert stands united, all settlements, all tribes, one voice. The elders exchanged glances, their silent communication honed over decades of shared struggle. Finally, Elder Savra spoke, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. The desert remembers when corporations first came promising prosperity. We've watched our aquifers bleed dry, our prices soar, our children thirst. If the Empress leads, the desert will follow. She fixed her laser-sharp gaze on Rin. And the human, what role does Earth's envoy play? Rin felt the room's attention shift, the living building itself seeming to lean in, judging his words. I came to Zephyria for water rights, he said, but I've learned negotiation is hollow when one side holds all the cards. Earth has influence, media reach, and, most crucially, competition. Other water companies, smaller but hungry, would kill for a slice of Zephyria's market. If we prove Aquavion's malfeasance and break their monopoly, he shrugged. Market forces can be a weapon too. Spoken like a true diplomat, Savra said, and Rin couldn't tell if it was praise or a jab. Very well, she continued. The desert elders pledge support, but hear this: if you fail. If this brings more suffering, the consequences will be severe. The meeting stretched into the night hours of hammering out logistics, assigning roles, and plotting a campaign to either shatter Aquavion's grip or tighten it forever. Through it all, Rin watched Laura, her grace in mediating factions, revealing new layers, her memory of every elder's name, their settlements, their struggles, their families. This wasn't just politics. She cared deeply. Past midnight, they emerged from the living structure into the cold desert night, stars blazing in a pristine sky, the radiant wastes glowing like scattered stardust. That went well, Laura said as they walked to their transport. Did it? Rin asked. I couldn't tell if Savra wanted to adopt me or feed me to something with teeth. Both probably, Laura replied with a wry smile. She's complicated. She paused, gazing at the stars. Rin, and what you said about competition, do you really have those contacts? I've got favors to call, he said. Miranda Shao at Neptunian Aquacorp owes me for settling their labor dispute last year. They jump at this market, and if Aquavion retaliates, they've got pull on Earth too. Then I guess I'm not going back to Earth for a while, Rin said lightly. Though the weight of his choices sank in, he was torching bridges, picking sides in a war that could end him. Laura studied him in the starlight, her eyes searching. Why are you really doing this? And don't say it's just the right thing. Plenty of diplomats know what's right and do nothing. Rin considered lying, but the memory of the truth-sensing building lingered. More than that, he didn't want to lie to her. My youngest sister Arya has a respiratory condition, specialized treatment, expensive meds. When she was 10, a company bought up the supply and tripled prices. I watched my parents beg, borrow, nearly lose everything to keep her alive. He kicked at the glowing sand, frustration flaring. I became a diplomat to stop that kind of suffering. But all I've done is file reports until now. Until now, Laura echoed softly. So maybe this is selfish. Maybe I'm just proving I can do more than talk. There are worse reasons, she said, her voice gentle. My father died in the Third Water War, not in battle, but inspecting a refugee camp ensuring fair distribution. Corporate mercenaries made it look like an accident. I was 14 watching my mother hold the empire together while grieving while a Quavion's board sent a fruit basket to the funeral. Her laugh was bitter sharp as broken glass. So yes, this is personal, for me too. They stood in quiet solidarity, two souls bound by a fake engagement, but a real purpose. Their driver coughed politely and they climbed into the transport. The ride back was silent, each lost in their own thoughts. As they entered the capital's airspace, Rin's wristcom erupted with notifications. Trixa summarize, he muttered. Oh, where to start? Trixa's voice was gleeful. Your fake engagements inspired 3 romantic films in production. Aquavion stock dropped 12% on investigation rumors. Someone leaked you've got impressive abs, I can't confirm that. And most intriguingly, Mira Kwan from Terran Intelligence wants an urgent meeting. Mira's here, Rin asked. Who's Mira Kwan? Laura inquired. Trouble, Rin said. Brilliant, necessary trouble. They landed at the palace, finding Mira waiting in the formal reception room, unfazed by the 3 a.m. hour. Of Korean descent, her friendly face masked a mind that recorded everything. Rin, your majesty, she said, springing up with unnatural energy. Congrats on the engagement, I brought champagne. She produced a bottle from nowhere. Tan vintage, utterly undrinkable, but it's the thought that counts. Mira, Rin said, cautiously, what are you doing here? Officially covering the romance of the century for Terran Broadcasting. She said, her smile turning razor sharp, unofficially ensuring Earth's interest during this fascinating political upheaval. There's no upheaval, Laura said coolly. Not yet, Mira replied cheerfully. But Rin's math stunt at the Water Council has people asking questions, and questions are dangerous. She swiped through a datapad with practiced ease. I've been digging. Archon Drain arrives today. Sorry, time zones are weird in space. Archon Drain is coming here. Laura's voice could have frozen plasma. Who's Archon Drain, Ryan? He asked. CEO of a Quavion syndicate, Mira supplied. Net worth rivals a small solar system. Known for hostile takeovers and collecting extinct species as a hobby. Says it all, really. He's here for damage control, Laura said, to remind everyone who holds the power. Or to make a deal, Mira suggested. Intercepted comms show he's worried about Aquavion's reputation. Bad press tanks stock prices, and shareholders get testy when dividends shrink. He'll offer a token concession, Rin realized. Slight price cuts, a promise to investigate the poisonings, all to keep his monopoly. Bingo, Mira said, sprawling in a chair with casual disregard for protocol. So do you take the deal and help a few? Or hold out for real change and risk helping no one? Laura paced a caged predator. Refuse publicly and he'll paint us as unreasonable. Accept and we legitimize his control. There's a third option, Rin said slowly. Let him make his offer, then counter with something he can't accept but can't refuse. Full transparency. Open books. Public audits, real-time facility, monitoring. Frame it as a partnership for the people. Mira whistled. He'd rather eat glass, but you're right, he can't say no without looking guilty. Then we control the narrative, Laura decided. Mira, how fast can you arrange a live broadcast? Honey, I could broadcast from a black hole if the story's juicy enough. When and where today's formal reception, Laura said. Drain expects private talks. We go public from the start. Ambush journalism. Mira grinned. I love it. But fair warning, Drain doesn't play nice. Push too hard and people might start having accidents. Let him try. Laura said, her smile all fangs. I'm not my father. Mira left to set the plan in motion, leaving Rin and Laura alone in the reception room. The palace was still wrapped in the pre-dawn hush. We should rest, Laura said finally. Today will be brutal, Laura Ryan called as she turned to leave. What you said about your father, I'm sorry. She paused at the door, her voice soft. He'd have liked you. He always said the best negotiations happen between those who know loss. Her smile was tinged with sorrow. Rest well, fake fiancé. Tomorrow we wage war with words, not water. Sleep eluded Rin as he returned to his quarters. He stood at the window watching Zephiria's capital stir under a rising sun, wondering what he'd stumbled into. Out there, Archon Drain was plotting, calculating the price of suffering for maximum profit. Trixa Run said quietly, dig up everything on Drain, personal history, psych profiles, weaknesses. Already compiling, boss, Trixa replied. Initial findings: allergic to shellfish, messy divorce 6 years ago, a daughter he never sees. Oh, and he once kidnapped a competitor's pet to make a point in negotiations. Charming, right? Also, he's got claustrophobia from a childhood mining elevator incident. Useful, Ryan said. Trix's tone turned serious. Drain's no bureaucrat, Rin. He's connected, ruthless, filthy rich. You sure about this? I'm sure I'm making a terrible mistake, Rin admitted. But I'm also sure I can't do nothing. Figured, Trixa said. I've backed up our data to 17 secure servers just in case we need to run for our lives. The sun climbed, painting Zephyria's sky in fiery orange and gold. In the desert, people woke to another day of rationed water and rising prices. In the palace, servants prepared for a reception that could change everything or nothing. In his borrowed quarters, a diplomat who just wanted to finish his whiskey faced one of the galaxy's most powerful men with only words and a shaky fake engagement. Rin thought of Laura, the steel beneath her silk, the pain fueling her power. Whatever game she was playing, and he was increasingly sure he was all in. Trixa, he said, turning from the window, add corporate nemesis to my resume. Done right under accidental revolutionary, and above worst fake fiancé ever. Despite it all, Rin smiled. In 12 hours, Drain would arrive expecting a puppet Empress and a convenient scapegoat. He'd find something else entirely. The water wars were about to take a sharp turn. The morning buzzed with activity. Vera appeared with a formal outfit blending Terran diplomatic precision with Xur ceremonial flair, a sartorial miracle that must have kept seamstresses up all night. Her Majesty requests your presence for a breakfast strategy session, she said. Also, she warns that if you're planning anything diplomatically creative, she needs a heads up. Define diplomatically creative, Ryan said. Her exact words, anything that might spark an interstellar incident or force me to actually marry him. Breakfast was held in a smaller dining room overlooking the palace's water gardens, a stark reminder of the elite's abundance. Laura was already there, surrounded by advisors studying holographic displays with fierce focus. Did you sleep well? Laura Talvern asked, without looking up from the holographic displays, her voice laced with dry amusement. Like a man facing a firing squad, Rin Carter replied, a wry edge to his tone. So perfectly normal then. She dismissed her advisors with a flick of her wrist, their holographic forms vanishing like ghosts. Mira's broadcast is set. She's calling it a conversation for Zephyria's future. Archon Drain will loathe the spotlight. That's the point, Ryan said. Exactly. But cornered predators are dangerous. Laura's golden eyes met his, and Rin saw the exhaustion she masked beneath her regal poise. Are you ready for this? Are you? He countered. I've been ready since I was 14. She slid a datapad toward him, its screen glowing with Imperial Intelligence's profile on Drain. He's cunning, ruthless, but vain. He craves being seen as a visionary, not a vulture. So we force him to choose profit or perception, Rin said, catching her strategy's thread. Exactly. They spent hours plotting, weaving verbal traps, anticipating Drain's countermoves. Rin marveled at Laura's mind, her ability to see 3 steps ahead to turn contingencies into weapons. During a brief pause, she caught him staring. What she asked, a playful edge to her voice. Sorry, Ryan said, just thinking you were wasted as an Empress. You'd run a galaxy-spanning crime syndicate with ease. Who says I don't? Her smile was mischievous, then softened. Mostly a joke. The reception began at noon, the palace's great hall, a sea of nobles, diplomats, and curated public figures, their murmurs buzzing like a swarm of media drones. Archon Drain arrived precisely on time because men like him wielded punctuality as power. Older than Rin expected, his silver hair and sharp features framed a suit worth more than most homes. His security detail was subtle but ever-present, and his smile never touched his eyes. Your Majesty, he said, bowing with calculated precision. Lord Carter, a pleasure to meet the happy couple. Archon Drain, Laura replied, her tone frosty as a comet's core. Welcome to Zephyria. I trust your journey was comfortable, though I couldn't miss the protest camps near the spaceport. Such a pity when people don't grasp economic necessities. Drain was already drawing battle lines. Rin stepped forward, offering a handshake. I'm sure once they see Aquavion's commitment to transparency and fair pricing, those protests will fade. Drain's grip was firm, his smile a blade. Optimism, how refreshingly human. Shall we begin? Miraquan appeared with impeccable timing, her camera crew already rolling. The people of Zephyria are eager for solutions to the water crisis, she announced, her professional veneer, barely masking a gleeful glint. Rin caught the flicker of annoyance in Drain's eyes before his mask snapped back. Of course, Drain said smoothly. Aquavion is always eager to engage with the community. They took their places, Drain in a lone chair, Rin and Laura on a love seat that forced them closer than necessary, a subtle reminder of their staged unity. Mira stood to the side, her poise unshaken by the tension. Archon Drain, she began. Aquavion controls 94% of Zephyria's water infrastructure. Many say this monopoly enables price manipulation. Your response, we provide an essential service, Drain replied, voice like polished steel. Our investments have brought water to millions who had none. Yes, we dominate the market, but that ensures efficiency and reliability. Efficiency, like the recent poisonings? Rin asked, his tone deceptively innocent. Drain's smile tightened. Isolated incidents we're investigating thoroughly. We suspect sabotage by extremists aiming to discredit legitimate business. How convenient, Laura murmured, loud enough for the cameras. Your Majesty suggests something, Drain's voice carried a warning. I suggest, Laura said clearly, that when people refuse to sell ancestral water rights and then fall mysteriously ill, questions arise naturally. Correlation, not causation, Drain countered. Let's not dwell on unproven accusations. I'm here to offer solutions. Here it comes, Ryan thought. Aquavion proposes a 10% rate reduction for basic water access, Drain announced, plus a fund for families affected by the recent contaminations pending investigation. It was a solid offer, Rin admitted, enough to ease immediate pressure without altering the power structure. Some audience members nodded approvingly. That's generous, Mira said, her tone implying otherwise. Lord Carter, as Earth's representative, your views of Zephyria deserves partnership, not patronage, Ryan said carefully. Drain speaks of rate cuts, but who sets those rates? He mentions investigations, but who runs them? Are you suggesting Aquavion can't be trusted? Drain's voice held a dangerous edge. I'm suggesting trust requires transparency. Ryan pulled out his datapad, projecting data for all to see. Would Aquavion open its books, allow public monitoring of facilities, share real-time reserve data? The hall fell silent. Drain's expression cycled through shock, fury, and calculation in a heartbeat. That's unprecedented. No corporation could function under such exposure. No corporation was something to hide, Laura added sweetly. This is ambush journalism. Drain stood, his composure cracking. I came in good faith. You came to offer scraps while hoarding resources? Ryan interrupted, rising too. We have satellite evidence of hidden storage facilities, chemical purchase records suggesting massive overproduction. You're creating artificial scarcity, Archon. Prove it, Drain snarled. Gladly. Rin nodded to Trixa, who projected the evidence, shipping manifests, satellite images, financial analyses. Minimum 500 million liters stashed in desert bunkers, while children ration water by the spoonful. The audience erupted, shouts, questions, camera flashes. Drain's security edged closer, but palace guards matched them. Lies and speculation. Drain declared, his voice faltering. Then prove us wrong, Laura challenged. Open your facilities. Show us empty bunkers. Prove your innocence. Drain's gaze darted between them, and Rin saw the moment he realized he'd been outmaneuvered. Their engagement wasn't a weakness, it was bait luring him into a public arena where his tactics crumbled. This isn't over, he said quietly, a promise of vengeance. Then louder for the cameras, Aquavion will review these baseless accusations through proper legal channels. We remain committed to Zephyria's water needs. He stormed out, his security forming a protective bubble. The hall exploded into chaos. Well, Mira said brightly, that went well. Loved the part where he threatened you, very subtle. We've made an enemy, Laura said quietly. We already had one, Rin corrected. Now everyone knows it. The reception blurred into a storm of questions, congratulations, and veiled warnings from nobles about crossing Aquavion. Through it all, Ryan and Laura maintained their united front, a facade Rin was starting to believe. Later, as servants cleared the hall, they stood alone on a balcony overlooking the city. He'll retaliate, Laura said, her voice low. Probably. Are you ready for that? Rin paused, his mind racing. His career was likely over. He'd crossed one of the galaxy's most powerful corporations, fake engaged to an Empress locked in a fight he couldn't win conventionally. You know what he said finally? I think I am. Laura's smile was real, transforming her face. Good, because I have a confession. You're already married, no? She turned to him fully, her eyes intense. That night at the bar, I wasn't drunk. Rin's heart skipped, but he kept his face neutral. I know. Her eyes widened slightly. You know you sobered up too fast, played the media too well. Plus, Trixum analyzed the footage. Your movements were too coordinated for someone that intoxicated. And you went along anyway. Seemed rude to call out an Empress's schemes. Plus, I was curious where it'd lead. She laughed, the sound bright in the evening air. You keep surprising me, Ren Carter. Likewise, Your Majesty. So what was the real plan? Find someone outside the system. Earth connections, no local loyalties. Test their character, their skills. If they passed, recruit them for what we just did, expose Aquavion publicly in a way they couldn't dodge. And if I'd failed, you'd have a story about saving a drunk Empress and gone home none the wiser. She studied him. But you didn't fail. You exceeded every expectation. Happy to help, Rin said dryly. Though next time, maybe just send a job offer. Where's the fun in that? Her expression turned serious. We're committed now. This engagement story's taken on a life of its own. We'll need to keep it up until the water crisis is resolved. I can think of worse fates than being fake engaged to you. Flatterer, she said, smiling. We make a good team. We do, Rin agreed, then yawned. Sorry, toppling corporate monopolies is exhausting. Go rest, she said. Tomorrow we start the real-world public forums, coalition building, keeping the pressure on Aquavion. As Ryan turned to leave, she called, Thank you for trusting me even when you knew I was deceiving you. You were saving your people, he said simply. Hard to fault that. Back in his quarters, Ryan's mind churned with plans and possibilities. They'd won the first skirmish, but the war was just beginning. Drain wouldn't forget today's humiliation, and Aquavion's resources were vast. But they had something he didn't expect, a fake engagement turning into a real partnership, growing public support and momentum to reshape worlds. Trixa Ren said monitor all Aquavion comms, flag anything suspicious. Already on it, boss. Also, you've got 17 marriage proposals from nobles who think you're free since the engagement's fake. Decline them all, what? How do they know? Never mind, yes, decline them, especially the one offering 3 moons and a fleet. As he prepared for bed, Rin reflected on his strange path. He'd come to Zephyria for water rights, not to spark a revolution disguised as a romance, challenging a corporate giant with truth media savvy and an Empress far more dangerous than any bar drunk. His mother always said he couldn't leave well enough alone. For once, he was glad she was right. Dawn brought chaos. Rin woke to blaring alarms and Trixa's urgent voice. Boss, we've got a problem. The main desalination plant just blew. 17 workers injured, main processing unit destroyed. He was out of bed pulling on clothes before his brain caught up. Sabotage unknown, but the timing's suspicious. It's Aquavion's newest facility, the one we called out for excess X-74 catalyst. Laura's voice crackled through his wristcom. Meet me in the situation room now. The room was controlled pandemonium, military officers, emergency responders, and advisors clustered around holographic displays of the burning facility. Laura stood at the center, still in sleeping clothes but radiating authority. Report sheet commanded as Rin entered. Explosion started in the catalyst storage, General Vren said. Secondary blast followed. The plant's offline. At current rationing, the capital has 6 days of water reserves. Casualties, 17 injured, 3 critical, no deaths yet. Thank the stars for small mercies, Laura murmured. Aquavion's claiming equipment failure due to poor local maintenance, another official said. They're spinning it as proof Xur workers can't handle advanced tech safely. Of course they are, Rin muttered. Laura's eyes locked on his. You don't think it was an accident, the day after we challenged them targeting the exact facility we highlighted. Either Drain's got the worst timing in the galaxy, or he's sending a message. Laura turned to the displays. General Vren, I want our best investigators on site. If this was sabotage, I want proof. With respect. Your Majesty, Vren said cautiously, Aquavion controls the facility. They're already blocking access. Then call it a public health inspection, a safety audit, whatever gets our people inside. She paused, then looked at Rin. Can your Earth contacts secure neutral observers? I'll make some calls, he said. The next hours blurred Rin working his channels, Laura coordinating the crisis response. Laura Talverin orchestrated the emergency response with a commander's precision while the media went berserk. Aquavion's PR machine roared into overdrive, framing the desalination plant explosion as tragic proof their monopoly was vital for safety. "They're good," Miraquan admitted, arriving with fresh intelligence, her eyes gleaming with grudging respect. Three major networks are already running their narrative. Incompetent locals cause disaster sells better than corporation torches own facility to make a point. What about the workers' testimonies? Rin Carter asked. Surely someone saw something. Mira's expression darkened. Funny thing, the three workers closest to the blast whisked to an Aquavion medical facility for specialized treatment. No outside contact allowed. They're isolating witnesses, Laura said flatly, her voice like tempered steel. Or ensuring they don't survive to become witnesses, Rin added grimly. The room fell silent, the air heavy with the shift from corporate games to something far deadlier. Your Majesty Grand Marshal Cathar stormed in his military bearing, rigid with barely contained fury. This attack demands a military response. Let me seize the facilities, secure them properly. Laura shook her head unwavering. No, we stick to the plan, legal pressure, public opinion, economic alternatives. Your plan got 17 people hurt. Cathar's composure cracked his voice a snarl. Your human pet schemes provoked this violence. Careful, Marshal, Laura warned, her tone sharp as a plasma blade. You forget yourself. I forget nothing. Your Majesty, least of all who truly serves Zhur's interests, he stormed out, leaving tension thick as desert dust. He's not entirely wrong, Ryan said quietly. We did provoke this. No, Laura's denial was fierce, her golden eyes blazing. They chose violence. We chose truth. There's a difference. But Ren saw the doubt flickering in her gaze, the weight of those 17 injuries pressing on her shoulders. The day dragged on with maddening stagnation. Every attempt to access the ruined facility hit legal walls. The injured workers remained incommunicado, their silence ominous. Public opinion began tilting back toward Aquavion's narrative. We need a new angle, Rin said during a brief respite, he and Laura retreating to a private balcony to escape the relentless crisis. Any suggestions? We can't prove sabotage without access, and we can't get access without proof. It's a perfect circle. Then we go around it. Rin activated Trixa, his AI assistant. Show her what you found. A holographic display flared to life, revealing heat signatures, vehicle movements, and odd activity patterns. I've been analyzing Aquavion's deep desert storage sites, Trixa said. Something's stirring. They're moving the hidden water reserves, Laura breathed, her eyes narrowing. Why my guess, Rin said. They're prepping for a siege, cut the official supply, let the crisis worsen, then play saviors with their private stashes selling at any price or demanding total capitulation. Give us control or watch your people die of thirst, Laura added, her voice cold. Bastards, Mira said, having slipped in silently, her grin sharp. Brilliant bastards, but bastards. We need those reserves, Laura said. If we can prove they exist, show them to the people. Breaking into guarded corporate facilities is war, Rin pointed out. Then we don't break in. Mira said, a sly grin spreading. We get invited. They looked at her, expectant. Archon Drain has a weakness, his ego. He loves flaunting his superiority. She pulled up a file on her datapad. Every year he hosts a desert race for corporate elites, death-defying speeds through Zephiria's worst terrain. Guess what's in 3 days? The Blaze Wind Rally, Laura murmured, but it's invitation only. Good thing you're engaged to someone Drain would love to humiliate publicly, Mira said cheerfully. Ryan enters the race. We use it as cover to get near the storage facilities. That's insane, Rin said. That's perfect, Laura countered. Drain won't resist the chance to beat you personally. His pride will trump his caution. I don't know how to race alien deserts. You'll learn, Laura said, her smile sly. I'll teach you. I race. How do you think I knew to fake being drunk at a zero-G bar? I've been sneaking out for underground races since I was 16. Mother still doesn't know. Rin stared once again, reevaluating the Empress. The next 2 days were a whirlwind of preparation. Laura drilled Rin on desert racing basics while Mira secured his entry to the rally. The official story, Lord Carter wanted to prove humans could match Zhur courage. Drain took the bait, sending a personal message. Trixa Rhine said, adjusting the practice vehicle's controls, Reddit. Quote, I look forward to showing Lord Carter that some territories are better left to their betters, Trixa reported. He really doesn't like you, Gudrun said. Angry people make mistakes. Laura slid into the navigator's seat. Desert racing isn't about speed, it's about reading the terrain, anticipating shifts. The sand here is alive. You keep saying that. What does it mean you'll see? She activated the vehicle's systems. Let's take a real run. I've got something to show you. They sped from the palace's private tracks into the open desert. As the city vanished, Rin understood sand shifted in patterns, defying the wind, creating obstacles and opportunities in equal measure. There, Laura pointed to a distant rock formation. Head for it. Rin pushed the vehicle harder, feeling its response to the ever-changing terrain. The thrill was unexpected, the speed, the danger, Laura's laugh when he hit a dune at the perfect angle, soaring briefly airborne. They reached the formation as the sun dipped low. Laura led him up a carved path to a cave entrance. What is this place? A reminder, she said, activating a small light. The cave walls glowed with ancient carvings, images of water flowing freely across what was now barren desert. This was an ocean, once, Laura explained, her voice soft. Aw, before climate shifts, before corporations, my ancestors carved these to remember. She traced a symbol. This means water memory. The desert recalls when it was sea. It's beautiful, Ron said quietly. It's why we fight, not just for today's water, but for the memory of abundance, the hope it could return. She turned to him. I brought you here because I wanted you to understand this isn't just politics or economics. It's about the survival of memory itself. The intimacy of the moment caught Ryan off guard, the cave's soft light and ancient carvings making their fake engagement feel achingly real. Laura, he began. We should head back, she said quickly. Tomorrow you register for the race. But neither moved, possibilities hanging like suspended water drops. Her wrist-com chimed, shattering the spell. Another incident, she said, reading the message. A northern wasteland settlement, their entire water supplies cut off. They raced through darkening sands, the cave's moment buried under a new crisis. At the palace, the situation was dire. 3 settlements, water severed, thousands at risk. It's starting, General Vren reported. Aquavion's tightening the noose. Redirect capital reserves, Laura ordered. That cuts our emergency supply to 4 days, Councillor Myrax warned. Then we have 4 days to solve this, Laura said. The war room erupted, arguments over resources, military options, diplomacy. Rin watched Laura navigate the chaos with remarkable grace, though the strain was etched in her frame. Later, exhausted, they stood on their familiar balcony, the city below showing signs of strain, longer lines at water stations, a nervous pulse in the streets. We're losing, Laura said quietly. We're not beaten, Ryan corrected. The race is tomorrow. We find those reserves, broadcast their location, and everything changes. And if Drain expects the gambit, if it's a trap, then we spring it and see who gets caught. He managed a tired smile. Besides, I've got an excellent navigator. Flatterer, she murmured, smiling back. This is probably the suicide racing professionals on their turf while playing spy. Tuesday in the diplomatic corps, remember? She laughed despite everything. You're either very brave or very stupid. Why not both? Indeed. She paused. Rin in the cave earlier, alarms blared across the palace. They snapped to attention as guards rushed past. What now? Rin groaned. Vera appeared breathless. Your Majesty, Lord Carter, Grand Marshal Cathar has mobilized his loyal units. He's moving to seize Aquavion's facilities by force. That fool, Laura snarled. He'll start a war. They ran to the situation room. Thoughts of caves forgotten. Displays showed Cathar's units advancing on Aquavion sites, corporate security mobilizing in response. Get me Cathar now, Laura commanded. His face appeared rigid with defiance. Your Majesty, I'm doing what you lack the courage to do. You're committing an act of war. I'm saving our people. Your soft approach failed. The human schemes failed. Military action is all that remains. Stand down, Marshal. That's an order. I no longer recognize your authority in this matter. The military council has voted for Shear's good we act. The transmission cut. He's staged a coup, General Vren said quietly. Not against the throne, but your policies. Can you stop him? Laura asked. My forces are split. Some back him. It'd be messy civil conflict amid a corporate stranglehold. Drain couldn't have planned it better, Ryan said. A chilling thought hit him. Trixa priority scanned Cathar's comms with external sources last week. On it. Oh no. What Laura demanded. Encrypted comms between Cathar and Aquavion subsidiaries, Trixa said. Small payments to his staff's accounts, not blatant bribes, but enough to suggest influence. He's compromised, Laura said. Or he's letting himself be used because it suits his goals, Rin suggested. Either way, Drain wins. On the displays, Kethar's units neared Aquavion's facilities. Shots could ring out any minute. We have to stop this, Laura said. Ideas go over Kethar's head, Mira suggested. Direct appeal to the troops broadcast from where he controls comms. The race Rin said suddenly. Move it up to tomorrow. Make it a rally for peace, not just sport. Get everyone watching that, not the military standoff. Drain won't agree to change the date, Laura said. He will if we make it irresistible. Ryan pulled up a map. Look, Kethar's forces are here. The race route's here. We tweak it to pass the standoff. Live coverage of corporate racing amid military tension. Drain won't resist the drama. And while everyone's watching, Laura said, we find those reserves and broadcast their location. Hard to justify war when the crisis is exposed as manufactured. She studied the map, mind racing. It's insane. Brilliant, but insane. Our specialty, apparently. She nodded decisively. Do it, Mira. Can you sell this to the network's honey? I could sell ice to polar bears. Leave it to me. As Mira rushed out, Laura turned to Vren. Slow Cathar down equipment, failures, comms, issues, sudden inspections. Buy us time. I'll do what I can. Your Majesty? The room emptied, leaving Rin and Laura alone, her exhaustion etched in every line. We're gambling everything on a race, Laura Talvrin said, her voice heavy with exhaustion. No, Rin Carter corrected, his tone steady despite the stakes. We're gambling on the truth. The race is just how we deliver it. And if we lose, well, we'll have given Archon Drain the worst day of his life. That's worth something. Despite the chaos, Laura's smile broke through warm and unguarded. You're a strange diplomat, Ren Carter. And you're a strange Empress. I think that's why this works. He gestured between them, the air charged with unspoken questions. Whatever this is. She stepped closer, and for a heartbeat, Rin thought she might kiss him, her golden eyes softening in the dim light. But she caught herself, stepping back. We should rest. Tomorrow will be insane. I was going to say decisive, Rin said with a grin, but insane works too. As they parted, he caught her hand. We'll get through this together. She squeezed back her grip firm. Together. Walking to his quarters, Rin reflected on how far he'd strayed from his original mission. He'd come to Zephyria to negotiate water rights, not to spark a revolution, wage a corporate war, or face a military crisis. Somewhere along the way, a fake engagement had become something else, something he wasn't ready to name. Trixa, he said quietly, what are the odds we survive tomorrow? Calculating about 23.7, his AI replied. But you've always beaten the odds. First time for everything, that's the spirit. Want me to draft your will, just ensure our evidence is backed up and ready to broadcast. If we don't make it, the truth will. Already done, Trixa said. And Rin, for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. Thanks, Trixa. He stood at his window gazing at the city teetering on the edge of collapse, its water reserves dwindling. Out there, Marshal Cathar's forces marched toward conflict. Drain was likely plotting their demise. The desert held secrets that could save or doom them all. In less than 24 hours, Rin would race through that desert with the Empress he was pretending to love, but might actually be falling for trying to stop a war while exposing a conspiracy. Should have minded my own business in that bar, he murmured, but a smile tugged at his lips. Despite the danger, the complexity, the sheer impossibility, he wouldn't change a thing. Tomorrow promised racing revelations and consequences. Tonight he had work to do. Trixa pull up everything on desert racing techniques. If I'm risking my life, I'm going to be damn good at it. That's my human preparing for doom with style. Outside, the stars watched impassively as Zephyria teetered on the brink of catastrophe. In the palace, two strangers turned allies braced to risk everything for justice. The race was on, in more ways than one. The morning of the Blaze Wind rally dawned blood-red dust storms painting the horizon. Rin stood in the racing hangar, trying not to dwell on the 17 ways he could die in the next few hours. Nervous Laura asked, appearing beside him in a racing suit that somehow amplified her regal aura. Terrified, he admitted, but it's a productive kind of terror. Her smile was warm as she handed him a helmet. I had this custom-made latest safety tech integrated comms, Trixa-compatible systems, and probably a tracker to find your body when you crash. That too, Ryan said, her fading smile revealing her worry. Rin, you don't have to do this. We can find another way. No, we can't. Kether's forces are 12 hours from the facilities. Water supplies are failing. This is our shot. He donned the helmet, testing its systems. Besides, I've got the best navigator in the Empire. Flatterer, she said, but her eyes softened. Miraquan burst into the hangar, camera crew in tow. The networks are eating this up, royal romance races against time love in the fast lane. I'm particularly proud of speeding toward justice. Please tell me you didn't use that last one, Rin groaned. Too late. Also, Drain's here with his racing team and enough firepower to invade a small moon. Through the hangar's open doors, they saw Drain's convoy military-grade vehicles, professional racers, and the man himself standing like a general, surveying a battlefield. He's not taking chances, Laura observed. Good, neither are we. Rin activated Trixa. You ready for this? Born ready, well compiled. Ready? Trixa chirped. I've hacked 17 satellite networks, prepped 43 contingency broadcast protocols, and wrote your eulogy just in case. It's very moving. Your confidence is overwhelming. I also calculated optimal routes based on wind patterns, sand density, and proximity to the hidden facilities. Take the Viper's Crest at kilometer 47. The Viper's Crest is a death trap, Laura protested. No one's navigated it in years. Which is why Drain won't expect it, Trixa said cheerfully. Also, the nearest water facility is only 2 kilometers from its exit. Minimal security, who'd be crazy enough to come that way. We would apparently, Rin said. The starting line was controlled chaos. 30 racing teams, hundreds of media drones, thousands of spectators, physical and virtual. The modified route passed the military standoff where Kethar's forces faced Aquavion's security in tense formation. Drain approached their vehicle, his smile sharp as a blade. Lord Carter, I'm surprised you showed. Most humans would have found an excuse to withdraw. Most humans don't have what I have, Rin replied evenly. And what's that a reason to win? Drain's smile widened. We'll see. I do hope you survive the race. It'd be a shame if something happened before we finished our water negotiations. The threat was barely veiled. Laura stepped between them. Archon, I trust your team will race with honor. As much honor as the desert demands. Your Majesty, he said, bowing mockingly. May the best man win. As he walked away, Laura muttered, I really hate that man. Join the club. We have jackets. Despite everything, she laughed. Ready to make history or die trying. They took their positions, engines roaring around them. The starting signal loomed. Trust me completely out there, Laura said, running final checks. When I say turn, turn. When I say jump, don't ask how high, just do it. I trust you, Rin said simply. Something flickered across her face. I know. That's what terrifies me. The starting flare shot skyward, and 30 vehicles launched into the desert. The race was on. The first stretch was straightforward, packed sand-marked routes. Rin kept them mid-pack, gauging the other racers' moves. Drain's team led, setting a brutal pace. Sandstorm approaching from the east, Laura reported. Natural, not engineered. It'll hit in 20 minutes. Can we use it if we're crazy enough? Take the ridge path at marker 15. Ren followed her lead, their vehicle climbing a narrow ridge above the main pack. Other racers battled below. Why aren't they following? And this ridge turns into a wind tunnel when the storm hits. One wrong move and we're airborne the bad way. And the right moves, trust me. The storm hit like a fist, visibility dropping to meters, wind howling like a living beast. The vehicle bucked under Rin's grip. Left hard, left, Laura shouted. He yanked the wheel, the vehicle skidding, teetering on 2 wheels, then finding traction on an invisible path. Straight for 10 seconds, then right 45 degrees. They danced through the storm, Laura's directions, razor precise. Rin stopped thinking, trusting her implicitly. Full speed. He floored it, the vehicle surging, hitting a ramp-like dune and going airborne. For a heart-stopping moment, they flew blind through the maelstrom, then burst out landing hard but intact. Behind them, the storm hid the pack. How Rin gasped. I've been racing these storms since I was a teenager, Laura grinned. Also, I studied this route to escape boring palace functions. You're amazing, I know. Turn left at that rock formation. They were third now, Drain's team still ahead but within reach. The course grew brutal. Ancient ruins, crystallized dunes singing under their wheels. Viper's crest in 5 kilometers, Trixa reported. Also picking up comms from Drain's vehicle. Want to hear? Play it, Drain's voice crackled. Team 3 moved to intercept. Make it look like an accident. He's going to ram us, Laura snarled. Then we won't be where he expects. Ryan spotted the pursuer in his mirrors. Hold on. At the last second, he braked and turned hard. The enemy vehicle shot past, crashing into a dune in a shower of crystalline shards. One downwind said grimly, look ahead. The Viper's crest loomed a twisted rock corridor carved by a mad god, barely wide enough for their vehicle. Last chance for the safe route, Laura said. Safe's overrated. They plunged into the crest, a nightmare of tight walls and impossible twists. Rin drove on surfaces, defying gravity. Laura's rapid-fire directions leaving no room for fear. Up the wall, 30 Urdirium, drop left, thread, those pillars. Systems screamed warnings, paint scraped stone, and for a moment they drove upside down, held by momentum and sheer will. Almost through, Laura said. But Rin, what we've got company. In the mirrors, impossibly, Drain's vehicle followed his professional driver, navigating the deadly path, gaining ground. He's insane, Rin breathed. He's desperate, Laura said. He knows we're heading for the facility. They burst onto open desert, a hidden Aquavion facility, shimmering in the distance, its holographic camouflage flickering to those who knew where to look. Trixa, start scanning. On it, boss. But we've got bigger problems, military vehicles approaching from the north. Some of Kethar's forces broke off to stop us. How long minutes? Drain's vehicle closed in, its superior driver and machine narrowing the gap. Rin had one edge. He was willing to do something utterly stupid. Laura, do you trust me? What? Yes, but hold on. He veered straight for the facility, abandoning the race route. Drain followed as expected, but Ryan wasn't aiming for the entrance. The camouflage field, he said. It's got a power source. You're going to crash us into critical infrastructure. Only a little. They hit the generator at full speed, shattering the hologram like glass, exposing the vast facility. The impact sent their vehicle tumbling end over end in a spectacular, seemingly fatal crash. Ryan Carter had angled the crash with surgical precision. Their vehicle rolled down the sand dune safety systems, flaring to life, and came to rest upside down, but miraculously intact. Are we dead? Laura Talvern asked, her voice a mix of jest and pain. Disappointed, Rin quipped, a little death might hurt less than this. They extricated themselves from the wreckage just as Archon Drain's vehicle screeched to a halt, kicking up clouds of luminescent sand. He emerged, fury radiating from every taut line of his body. You suicidal fool, he snarled. Do you know what you've done? Exposed your illegal water hoarding. Ryan said, gesturing to the now visible Aquavion facility, its holographic veil shattered. Trixa, tell me you're broadcasting live to 17 networks. Confirmed? Trixa's voice crackled through their helmet comms. The whole Empire sees the facility. Scans show, oh my. Conservative estimate, 800 million liters in storage. You can't prove anything. Drain growled. This is a strategic reserve for emergencies. Then why hide it? Laura demanded, her voice cutting like a blade. Why not register it with Imperial authorities? Because bureaucrats like you would squander it on the undeserving masses. There it was, Drain's mask slipping, revealing raw greed. Undeserving. Rin stepped forward, his voice steady despite the tension. Children dying of thirst are undeserving. The weak die, the strong prosper, Drain said coldly. That's nature, that's greed, Laura corrected, her golden eyes blazing. And it ends now. Military vehicles roared in, encircling them in a storm of dust. Soldiers emerged, weapons drawn, but to Rin's relief, they were led by General Vren, not Cathar's loyalists. Your Majesty, Vren saluted, her stance rigid. We've been monitoring the broadcast. Orders, secure the facility, Laura commanded. Full audit, immediate distribution to critical areas. You can't. Drain reached for a weapon, but froze as a dozen rifles tracked him. This is theft. I'll have you all in court. I look forward to it, Laura said, her smile sharp as a fang. Especially the part where we discuss the poison settlements, the sabotage desalination plant, and your communications with Marshal Cathar. Miraquan appeared from a military vehicle camera, still rolling. Cathar's forces have stood down, she announced. Seems his soldiers lost their taste for fighting once they saw the hidden water. Funny how the threat of dying of thirst changes perspectives. Drain's gaze darted between them, calculating, then twisted into something crueler. You think you've won? I own judges, politicians, media empires. I'll be free in days, and then nothing. Ryan interrupted. While you were chasing us through the desert, my associates on Earth were buying your company. Silence fell like a hammer. What Drain's voice was strangled. When your stock crashed from scandal and your board saw evidence of your crimes, they got very amenable to buyout offers. Rin pulled up his wristcom displaying the confirmation. Neptunian Aquacorp now owns 51% of Aquavian. You're fired, by the way. You can't. This isn't possible. You forgot something, Laura said, stepping closer. You thought this was sheer versus humans, your monopoly preserved through division. But Run and I were proof that cooperation trumps exploitation. Also, Ren added, you really shouldn't have threatened her people. She takes that personally. We take that personally, Laura corrected, taking Ren's hand, her grip warm and firm. Drain was led away, still sputtering about lawyers and revenge, as soldiers secured the facility, preparing to unleash reserves that could save thousands. So Mira said, lowering her camera with a grin, this engagement still fake, or? Ren and Laura exchanged a glance, both covered in sand, bruised from the crash, exhausted from the race. I don't know, Laura said softly, her eyes searching his. Rit, what do you think? I think he said carefully. I came to Zephyria to negotiate water rights. Instead, I found something worth fighting for someone worth fighting beside. That's not an answer, she teased, a spark in her gaze. How about this? He pulled her close, aware of the cameras, the soldiers, the Empire watching. Her fur was soft against his skin, her warmth a quiet anchor in the chaos. Laura Talvin, would you go on a real date with me, one where we're not pretending to be drunk or engaged? She laughed, bright and genuine, the sound like starlight breaking through a storm. Ryan Carter, you're asking me out after we toppled a corporate empire and stopped a civil war. Seemed like the right time. You're impossible. So is that a yes? Instead of answering, she kissed him, her lips soft yet fierce, a collision of passion and promise that drowned out the desert wind. The soldiers' cheers swirled around them, carried by the gusts. I'll take that as a yes, Rin said when they parted, his heart racing. Shut up and kiss me again. He did this time slower, savoring the warmth of her breath, the electric connection that felt more real than their staged romance ever had. Later, much later, after the water reserves began flowing to parched settlements, they stood together in the palace watching Zephyria's sunset paint the sky in fiery hues. You know, Laura said, we've still got the aftermath, trials, reconstruction, diplomatic fallout. I know it won't be easy, Rin said. Push back other corporations circling political messes. I know, and we'll need to figure out what we are to each other without the fake engagement. I know, he said, smiling. But we exposed a conspiracy, stopped a war, saved a planet. How hard can a real relationship be? She laughed, the sound rich with possibility. With us, probably very. Worth it, though. Yes, he agreed. Worth it. Trixa's voice cut in. Hate to intrude, but you should know Laura's drunk act at the bar. Not random, yes, Rin said slowly. Trixa, Laura warned. She'd been watching you for weeks. Trixa continued, attending every public negotiation, reading your reports. She knew you'd be at the Drift Nebula to unwind. Rin turned to Laura, eyebrow raised. Stalking me, Your Majesty, research? She corrected, a blush blooming beneath her fur. I had to know if you were the right person for the Guam, and well, you saved the planet, so my judgment was sound. Your judgment or your taste in men. Both, she admitted, her smile shy. Though I didn't expect to fall for my own trap, something like that. He kissed her again, soft and sweet, her warmth grounding him against the weight of their victory. For what it's worth, I'm glad you were stalking me. Research, she insisted, laughing. They stood as night fell over Zephyria, the city's lights reflecting off newly flowing water channels. The crisis wasn't over, it never truly was, but they had each other and they had hope. Mira's voice broke the moment from the doorway where she'd been shamelessly eavesdropping. So when's the real wedding out? Aura and Rin shouted in unison. Mira left laughing. I'm betting spring wedding on Earth fall ceremony on Sheer. The networks will love it. We could elope, Rin suggested. Find a quiet asteroid somewhere. Don't tempt me, Laura said, leaning against him. Mother would hunt us across the galaxy. Worth it. Ask me again in a year. Deal. Under the desert stars, Rin traced the path that had brought him here, a bar fight, a fake engagement, a corporate conspiracy, and somehow real love. No regrets, Laura asked, reading his mood. Just one, he said. I never finished that whiskey at the bar. She laughed, pulling him inside. Come on, I know where the palace keeps the good stuff. No one's pretending to be drunk this time. Though she added with a sly grin, if you want to recreate that swooshy line, don't push it, Lord Carter, he teased. As you wish, Your Majesty. Hand in hand, they walked into the palace, ready for whatever came next. Behind them, the desert bloomed as water flowed freely again. Somewhere in the digital sphere, Trixa was drafting wedding invitations because some AIs couldn't help themselves.